In today's episode, I'm just going to be doing a few little odd jobs, including repotting some plants that I've been growing from cuttings. So these are Buddleia Globosa. They are from the Buddleia family, which you'll see growing all over the place, sort of railway side and that kind of thing. The purple and white flowers that butterflies love. They're extremely hardy and able to set seed in various different places, which is why you see so many of them in the wild. This particular one actually has round orange flowers. They're like balls, and the bees and insects love these equally, and I think they're really nice. The one that I had in my front garden unfortunately was a bit root bound, which means that when it was originally growing in a pot, the roots were going round and round and round, and it just became a big mass of roots. I bought it cheap because it was unloved in the garden centre, and unfortunately that proved a problem because the roots just didn't really know how to grow out. Once they start going round in that manner, it tends to stay that way. And unfortunately here it's extremely windy. It was really exposed in the front garden, and without having a strong root system, it meant that it was quite impacted by the wind and toppled quite a bit. So unfortunately that became unsettled, and I had to remove it at the end of last year. But before doing that, I took some root cuttings, and I've got 3 that have survived. So I'm going to repot those. They seem to be doing quite well. There's lots of fresh growth coming on it. So I think that one of these is going to be in a prime position to be outside this year and replacing that one out the front. And equally, I'm going to have a couple out the back. And I think they will be a great addition to the garden. So I'm going to repot these. I'm going to use some multi-purpose peat-free compost that I've got from my milkman. That's one of the great things about the service that I get from my milkman, is that they also deliver compost. So it's brilliant to get it sent straight to my door. There we go, some nice moist compost. I'm going to mix that in with some of the dry that's been sitting on the top. Same stuff, it's been a bit exposed, so it's got a little bit dry. So if I mix that in, it's going to be a nice combination of the two. There we go, that looks good. And I've got some bigger pots, so I'm just going to pop that in. Now, one way of easily putting these in is that if you're able to get the compost around the outside of the pot into here and create a bit of a shape for the other pot, you then have a natural place for the existing plant to go once you've taken it out of its pot. It's got a bit of a shell in place ready for it to simply slot into. It needs a pot that's big enough for you to be able to do that, and the gap is a bit tight on this, so it's not ideal, but at least you get the idea for what I'm kind of doing here and get a bit of a picture for what's happening. So if I take that out and see whether that's worked, yeah, I've got a bit of a, it's going to come out a bit when I take it down, but you can see it sort of sits around the outside of the pot, which means it's ideal for putting that in. I'm just going to redo that because I had to move it so it all went everywhere. So let me redo that and go through the same process, and just, it will stick to the side a bit. Gently tease this out. So I'm supporting the plant gently, just squeezing the edges of the pot, and it will come away. And we can see there's quite a nice root structure in there, some good roots. And I'm just popping that into the pot, into the gap that's already there, removing those dead leaves, and it's going to have a nice boost from the nutrients that are there. There we go. I don't fill it right up to the top of the pot because you need a little bit of room for the water to go when you're watering it. So I will pop that there and I'll give it a water in a moment. So now I'm going to do the other ones as well. Same process, that I'm going to fit the pot in, put the soil around it so that it is easier to pop into the middle. There we go. Those are all repotted, and they'll continue growing, hopefully nice and strong. And I will show you when I'm planting those in the garden, and you can see their finished position, how much they've grown. And then hopefully I'll be able to show you when they're in flower later in the season, when they've got some bees and other insects on them as well.